Forward Play, sorry, Barstool Sports. We are back, and we have a massive guest on the show. I don't know that we've ever had, in the history of the show, the number one ranked player in the world on the show, but Dustin Johnson, the current number one ranked golfer on this here, the planet Earth, is on the show. We've got Dustin Johnson. You're going to love it. We're going to get to that. We got to talk Owens Mixers first, which is, of course, the best mixer company that's ever been created. Number one ranked, I would say, if I were going off the Rigsy rankings, the number one ranked mixer company in the official world mixer company rankings is obviously Owens Mixers. They got the Transfusion, Paloma, Grapefruit, all kinds of good stuff. So, and these guys are big meet and greet Owens guys. You guys love to meet and greet and drink Owens.
It's a watch party.
Right?
That's a watch party.
It's a party. We watched a couple golf holes. We watched a little bit of hockey. And we drank some Owens Mixers.
Did people meet us and did we greet them and did we have a good time drinking Owens Mixers? We absolutely did, but it was in no way, shape, or form a meet and greet.
For sure, number one in the mixer space.
I see that. I see people talking about the mixer rankings a lot, at least on the internet, and Owens is always number one.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It's a popular
He gets into all the majors. Yeah,
right.
Locked up for all the majors, bunch of Ryder Cup points and stuff because, Owens Mixers is just dominating the mixer game. So they got the Barstool Transfusion, which we love, which was sold out every day at the PGA Championship, according to my on-site intel. And we just love them. So big thanks to Owens. They've been supporting us for a long time. Amazon, you can get them. Kroger stores, you can get them. All sorts of retail stores. They're just cranking. Our boy Josh works his dick off to get Owens in every single store.
CVS
you
now.
Can imagine.
CVS now. Ever heard of
CVS, folks, right? Like, if you haven't, then you're never going to just make it through life, I would say. So, yeah, you probably have heard of CVS, and Owens is in CVS, so you're welcome.
Do you know what CVS stands for?
No.
No.
Certified Vasectomy Center.
Center is a C.
Yep.
That rolled, though, Trent. I will say that was not bad.
I'm just going to slowly roll my chair out of the room as you guys
What does it stand for, Frank? Customer Value Service?
Consumer Value Store. Pretty damn close.
Store. We couldn't get store. We came up with center,
store
which doesn't even start with an S.
You're sure it's not center? Rick,
I will say.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, center, I could see maybe because some people spell it like in like I feel like in French Canadian culture they spell it center CENTRE.
Yeah.
So I could see that like maybe it's spelled with an S somewhere, but no.
I appreciate you trying to go to bat for me there, but I was just a stupid moment. You got me thinking.
That's a team guy.
That is.
You
got me thinking. What was Justin Thomas ranked when we had him on the show?
That's a good question.
I don't think he was number one, but he was probably the highest ranked guy we've had, previously before having Dustin Johnson on this show.
Yeah, in real time, he probably was top 3. I mean, he had to be. That was when was that? The beginning of 2019 that we had him on the show, maybe? So he's
January 1st, 2019, yeah.
So, yeah, then he coming off 20. Yeah, he probably had to be really high at that point. But regardless, I don't think he was number one. We have DJ on this. Dustin Johnson is just on this show. We just asked him questions, and then he answered them on this show.
Yeah, it's pretty stunning. Like being able, we did the Lefty Challenge against him in Florida with the TaylorMade thing, and that was a moment that you never thought was going to happen because the number one golfer is actually playing on a golf course with us. But being able to sit there and talk to him in what seemed to be his mansion down in Florida, and he had the palm trees around him and the pillars from his house, and he just looked like he was living on island time. It was awesome to just talk to him.
I will say, because of the shoot down in Florida, I was far less nervous for this interview than I would have been previously. Like, it's one of the biggest interviews we've ever done, obviously, but I felt comfortable enough with him because he was so cool at that video shoot that when he popped up on the screen, like, I think my whoop wasn't as high as people might expect it to be, and it was a very cool and chill conversation because we'd met him before.
I think people, especially the listeners, will not have as much of a shock factor because they've seen us interact with him. You know what I mean? Like we're kind of in DJ's mix now. We've seen him at the driving range at Kiawah. We played golf with him for an hour on a golf course, and now we got to talk to him for half an hour. So, but anytime Dustin Johnson's involved in any sort of podcast or interview, you just have to listen because you don't know what's going to come out of his mouth. You don't know if it's going to be nothing or it's going to be something super interesting. So, I'm a big fan of DJ.
We got 30 minutes with him. He was great.
Frankie, you're saying we're in the mix. If we're walking down the street, do you think he recognizes us?
You know, I actually didn't. I didn't have any confidence in that prior to the podcast that we just did that we're talking about right now, and people listening, they're just going to listen to DJ in like a couple minutes. But when he we didn't really preface like who we were when we hopped into this pod. Like I'm sure he did some media that day, and he knew everything. He knew immediately that he played us lefty. He knew the whole thing, Barstool and everything. So that got me a little more confident that he would know who we were.
Okay.
Yeah, some good nuggets in here about he's more superstitious than we thought. The most nervous he's ever been on tee box and over a golf shot, I think, will surprise some folks. So really, really good stuff with DJ. That's coming up in a few minutes. Big stuff has happened since the last time we did a show, which was Sunday. And one of the most viral videos, not on a golf course, probably in golf history. This thing's got millions of views before it got taken down the other day. The Brooks Koepka video with Bryson DeChambeau. Again, it's literally everywhere. It's one of the most memed things I've ever seen. What a fucking video. I can imagine we'll talk about this for pretty much the whole rest of the show. But, man, this was filmed, I want to say it was Saturday, I think everybody was saying, after the Saturday round. Didn't make it out because, they just cut it because Brooks couldn't even talk. He's so fucking disgusted by Bryson DeChambeau walking by. And we have gone on at length about both of these characters. We've loved them at times. We haven't liked them at times. They've been weird. They've been likable. They've been all over the place, both Brooks and Bryson. They've been going at it for years now, really ever since, the slow play stuff and Northern Trust a couple years ago at Liberty National. But fellas, what a fucking video. What a just a gift from the golf content gods this video was.
I think it might be the most incredible video in golf history. And you had said on the course, off the course. I think it might be both. I know there's obviously very historic moments that have happened in golf, and there's incredible clips. We can name a million of them. But just the candid nature of this and the clear, it was clearly not supposed to get out, right? That's might be my number one question of this whole thing. I want to get into, who we think got the better of the video and all that. But first of all, where did this even come from? Because it came out after the PGA Championship was over. It came out on Monday. Clearly, Todd Lewis and Golf Channel and everybody didn't think it would ever see the light of day. And then someone, I don't think we know who, just dropped a mega viral bomb on a Monday. How does a video like this even get out?
No idea, but wildly interesting. And
right.
When did Bryson finish? How long was he hanging around? What group did he finish? Wasn't he done a half hour, 45 minutes before that? I don't understand what he was still doing near on the property or near the, you're just.
Well, he goes after rounds and practices all the time, I feel like.
Does he?
Oh, yeah.
There's videos of him till the sun set 2 hours ago and he's banging balls on the range.
It was Trent's tweet of, what'd you say, Trent? You're this is maybe just the best video of all time. I forget, but it gave me a good laugh. And then I probably watched it 15 times. The other aspect of my question is, why doesn't golf embrace golf rivalries? Why is it this a forbidden fruit? Why don't we cherish the fact that these two people don't like each other like we do sports teams, like the Islanders and the Rangers?
Well, what I would say is that there's an element of, or an undercurrent of golf media especially that does clearly, because there's some folks saying this is an inside job by, Golf Channel to leak this, which would be smart, clearly.
Yep.
Someone with their fingers on the pulse of golf culture and golf media was oh yeah, this needs to get out because it is undoubtedly good for the game of golf. And it's always weird because if you ask any individual in golf, whether they work for the PGA Tour, or the PGA of America, or Golf Channel, or Fore or whoever, I think any individual you asked would say, yes, this is a great thing for golf. I'm so happy that got out. But if you asked the entity, if the PGA Tour released a statement about it, they would probably be yeah, that's a shame. We, all of our men are gentlemen, which is this really weird thing because we've dealt with that too, where a lot of people that work inside the PGA Tour, any individual you talk to, oh, we're a big fan of what you guys do, yet we can't get certain access from the entity. So there is this really bizarre thing in golf where the tour itself does feel like they need to protect an image of they're all gentlemen who are classy and love each other and root for each other, yet just 1 millimeter below the surface, everyone knows that that's just not true. If you have 200 or 300 guys that are all, professional golfers on the PGA Tour level, like, you're going to have many of them who just don't like each other. That's just going to happen. Like, if you're at a company with 20 people, there's going to be a few feuds within that company of people that just don't like each other. That's just human nature, like, whatever it is. And so obviously there's lots of folks out there who despise each other, don't like each other. And like you said, the NBA especially leans into it and crushes it with that type of stuff and the player-to-player drama. And when we go back and look, and it's like the best rivalries from the past, it's like Jack and Arnie, it's like there were times and Phil and Tiger where, like, they didn't like each other. They're pent up as, like, rivals, and that makes it fucking fascinating to watch. So it's bizarre, I guess I'm going to say, because, like, everyone knows that it's good, yet you won't hear a blanket statement or anything like that. Or if anything, if you did see a blanket statement, it would be condemning it, not condoning it, which is very bizarre.
Yeah, I agree. And that's a shocker to me. Like, I think that would help develop these personalities of, like, team entities and their group and their coaches and, like, their swing aides, etc., of just, like, teams versus one another. I think that would be super interesting. And it is a bummer, and you are spot on in the fact that, like, no, everybody's got to be a gentleman in golf, but, like, if you're with a group of 10 people, right, like, one of those people is going to hate each other. Or, like, in your group of friends at any given time, like, somebody's got beef with another. Now, it might be, like, more fun in nature, but still, like, there might be something going on, which I wish golf would play up a little.
It happens on a podcast with 4 people.
Right.
Exactly.
I say we got 3 little squares here on Webex, Cisco Webex, and 2 of the squares don't like each other. So
and maybe all 3. Nobody likes
Listen, it is really good for the game. Like, and anyone that's going to argue against it is on their way out of the game, right? Like, we don't have to. I don't know that we have to listen to the people that are saying it's a gentleman's game anymore, and that we need all of these people to be buttoned up and not saying anything about the other player, or the respect has to live on the course and off the course. Like, all that stuff is just time. It's part of the past. Like, we're now in this, like, Instagram, social media world where, like you're saying, like, Westbrook is doing interviews in the NBA being like, fuck no, I don't like that guy. And all these things, it adds to the drama of enjoying the sport. Unfortunately, we live in the world where we want to know everything about these people. We want to know what they like, what they don't like, who they don't like. And for me, like, if I know that Bryson DeChambeau hates Brooks Koepka, I will now watch more Bryson DeChambeau versus Brooks Koepka just because of that beef. Not because they hit the golf ball a certain way, but because of this, like, drama now. Dude, someone put up an image the other day that said, like, it was basically it was like one of these golf meme pages, and it was like most watched golf broadcast, like, coming up, right? And it was basically like PGA Championship because Phil won, and then it was like Masters is always the top. Anytime Tiger plays is the top, and then it showed, like, the bar going through the graph, being like the next time Brooks and Bryson are paired up together in a golf tournament. Like, it is at that level of must watch. It could be the John Deere Classic. Like, no one will care about the outcome of the golf. They won't care about what tournament it is. They just want to see them play against each other.
Listen,
yes,
if Brooks and Bryson want to play together in the John Deere Classic, we are very open. I speak for the John Deere Classic.
Way too big of names. They would never go to that dog shit spot. But the USGA, for example, like, they've now got a situation where two of their last 3 champions are fucking despising each other publicly on this viral video, and the USGA loves to pair people up. I mean, they did a 4-play Barstool grouping.
Who was in that one again?
2 years ago. It was like JT, Kiz, and, like, Bryson or something like that. Like, they legit just picked, like, the last 3 guys that were on our podcast and put them in a fucking group together. So they've now, like, this might be so intense that even they can't do it. But the point is that it's so good for the storylines of golf. And one of my big takes was I was a little surprised at how flustered Brooks was, because he was getting a ton of love for this video. And there's obviously certain aspects to love. We love that it just exists. But I was a little bit surprised that, like, this guy Brooks Koepka, who's supposed to be this mentally tough guy who treats himself more like a football player, a basketball player than he does like a golfer, and, like, he's been able to stomp people in majors and rack up 4 majors in a couple of years, that, like, he he was so flustered and rattled by Bryson just walking by and kind of muttering to himself that he couldn't even finish a thought in an interview. That my biggest takeaway, if you really had to compare the two of them, was that, like, Bryson's way more in Brooks's head, I think, than Brooks is in Bryce's head.
And I think we've sort of known that. Like, we've always known that Brooks definitely hates Bryson for a multitude of reasons, even for what Bryson represents in the game of golf. And they represent two very different things. But I've never really felt the heat coming from Bryson's side. Like, Bryson, to me, just sort of exists, and he does these weird things that then Brooks is able to critique and troll and make fun of. But you're right. My main takeaway was that as well. Obviously, people like the Brooks part of it where he's just candid, being like, this fucking guy, can't fucking believe this fucking shit. Like, that's very funny, and it makes the guy very likable. But you also have to see the other takeaway is what you're saying, Riggs, where Bryson's presence or his metal spikes on the ground or talking about the last shot, or Bryson talking about the last shot that he hit, that is so annoying to Brooks that he can't continue an interview that Bryson really has nothing to do with except that he's in the background. So I understand people liking Brooks in that video, but you also have to see that he's not what maybe you thought he was in the Mentally Tough, because when a guy walks by, his brain explodes.
I will say, though, like, when you're playing with somebody that's super slow or just, like, frustrating to play with, you as that player that's not, like, super slow and just, like, looking at their every move, that frustrates anybody. But if you're that slow player and, like, other people around, like, you don't get frustrated by them playing quickly. So I don't know where Brooks, like, gets into Bryson's headspace other than, like, chirping him on different levels. But in the aspect of the playing of the game, like, I think they're fundamentally two different approaches, and really only the slow player that's, like, looking at the book constantly, that's doing all this, really irks the other individual. I don't know if Brooks's gameplay really bothers Bryson to any effect.
Yeah. Public perception's always going to take Brooks's side in this kind of scenario, right? Like, the guy who is the nerd person doing the wrong thing is always going to be the person laughed at. Like, the Bryson walking by clanging those metal spikes in the background, it's like spikes. It's hard to be like, I'm on that guy's side when we're all kind of thinking like, this fucking guy. And when you hate someone, everything they do irks you times a million.
Yeah.
Right? Like, when I'm really mad at Lurch or whatever, when he does that whatever thing, I could kill someone, right? But, like, you're in the heat of the moment. Whatever. And I don't even know if people on the podcast have ever seen, like, a true whatever. Maybe on YouTube. But my point being is, like, when you're in that, like, Brooks must have just been so fucking frustrated with what happened on Sunday and just everything that was going on. And, Bryson could have been like, hey, man, like, have a nice flight. And Brooks would have been like, fuck that guy. Like, I just think it's at that point in the relationship where Brooks just doesn't even want to see him. And I get that. Like, I felt like that with other people. You know what I mean? Like, You just get like that. You're just down in the dumps about someone, and everything they do is the worst thing that's ever happened. And that's how they're at right now. And it's just hard to take Bryson's side in that.
And there's one, like, if you turn the video way up, because I know everybody in this, 3-screen chat here has watched that 50 times. Mm-hmm. If you turn the volume way up in the beginning, Bryson does say something. There is some sort of volume uptick that if anybody out there could cleanse that video and blow that early volume up to the clouds, I would love to know what was said in that first 2 seconds of the video.
So after watching it a lot, I think Trent's probably going to chime in as well, but there were definitely some misinformation about him, like, chirping Brooks about a putt. I didn't get that at all. What I got was that he said he was talking to whoever he was walking with, his coach or whoever, about, he basically sounded like he was venting about how he hit really good shots, especially on the last hole, that he hit, like, a really good drive in the last hole, but was upset that he just, like, wasn't scoring well, and that's what I took from it.
Right. Yeah, people were trying to turn it into way more than it was, when the video itself is amazing. Like, we don't have to add, like, I saw people, like, we all tweeted the video, obviously, and people under being like, oh, I can't believe he said, oh, you just got to hit it straight, Brooksy. Like, we don't have to turn it into that, because it's not that. It's an awesome video on its own. But I think people have juiced the audio on it, and it's like Bryson complaining about hitting great shots, exactly what Rick said, and not going where he wanted it to go. There's no way that Bryson chirped Brooks in that video.
There's a lot of people, like, this video was shot Saturday after Saturday's round, the third round, because he's in a white shirt. He's not in, like, the salmon-y colored shirt that he wore in the final round. That's the outfit. So it was like after Saturday's round, Bryson was going to the range because they still got a final round to play and all that. So the context was, I think, off for a lot of people too, because they didn't see it till Monday or whatever, and they're like, oh, that was after the final round. So all of that was kind of throwing people off. But yeah, I mean, I was very just, again, my first tweet was just that it was weird because I was stunned at Brooks's reaction. Like, he can't handle like another player just walking behind him. Like, just you're a professional. You're supposed to be this mentally tough fucking savage who dominates people in majors. Like, oh, so a guy that you hate. Like, imagine if Tiger's doing an interview and Phil walked behind him when they hated each other most. Like, Tiger would have been like, ugh, like, no, he just like would have answered the question. So,
or like flip it and think about how the internet would have reacted. If Bryson had reacted to Brooks walking behind him, they'd be like, oh, Brooks lives rent-free in Bryson's head. It's the rent-free crowd. But in turn, it's Brooks having that reaction, so you think that, oh, Bryson lives rent-free in Brooks' head, but Bryson has such a bad perception, and he's the nerd that people want to make fun of him. But because their beef this whole time has been Bryson doing something and Brooks making fun of him, like trolling him. So you wouldn't think that Brooks is actually bothered by Bryson, but it turns out that he is very, very, very much bothered by Bryson. I think that was a huge takeaway and a change in what has happened before.
It's the quarterback versus the geek. That's what it is. Like, everyone's going to take in public perception, they're always going to take the quarterback side. They're not going to laugh they're not going to like run to the geek's his side in this argument. Like, you see this guy walking back, you hear the clanging of the metal, and you're just going to be like, this fucking guy. So yeah, not enough people are talking about how mentally weak Brooks was in that moment. But then on the flip side, have we talked about Bryson on that tee box?
No.
I mean, someone on the tee box, what was that, a practice round?
It was a practice round at the PGA Championship. He was wearing shorts.
And some hilarious person. I mean, I would love to get a beer with this guy because like, you can tell that this guy's been doing it the whole entire day. And, so for anyone that didn't see, Bryson's on the tee and he hits a drive and someone goes, way to go, Brooks. Let's go, Brooks.
He goes,
let's go, Brooksy. Brooksy. Yeah, Brooksy. He must have been doing it all day. And right when Bryson makes contact, he goes, all right, whoever's calling me Brooksy, get out of here.
Right, and that is where Bryson loses this whole thing, because he doesn't necessarily know how to handle Brooks and Brooks's crowd, because what he doesn't understand is that saying everyone needs to stop calling me Brooksy is gonna make them call him Brooksy on every single tee box that he steps up to in the foreseeable future.
We've got a little podcast here called Pardon My Take. All right, ever heard of it? Pretty good in the sports realm.
Super popular.
Kind of popular. Big Cat, PFT, Hank, Jake Marsh. Shout out Jake Marsh, best in the office. One of the funniest videos of all time. One of the funniest videos of all time.
Poor Jake.
And how about the fact that those guys are probably going to go on there, and they are going to start a movement now, and I know it. I feel it. That every single person that walks by Bryson DeChambeau now will call him Brooksy. Right. I mean, it is without a doubt going to stick. And it's going to stick for a long time. Like, way to go, Brooksy. Because that kind of stuff on the golf course specifically, guys are out there, they're drinking. A lot of them are in the Part of My Take foreplay, group of age, and they all want to get on TV maybe after a drive. They want to get a retweet from one of us and Big Cat and all them. Brooksy is going to stay. And that's going to make Brooks Koepka so happy, because Bryson's not going to be able to handle it. Like you're saying,
when the fans come back, it's a mess for old Brooksy boy.
And, dude, Bryson came on this show. Shout out to him twice, right? But one of the time, did he come on twice? Yeah. And one of the times, I think the first time he came on, he really talked about, I think it was at the Northern Trust, where he was like, I really care about what the fans think about me. Like, when I hear negative stuff on the golf course, it affects me. Like, I want to be able to answer their questions. I want to be able to, tell them I'm a person and I have feelings. And, he was, getting deep into it. And this stuff is going to rattle his cage. It is.
Yeah. You got to talk real quickly, though. Before I'm going to respond to that, because I have something interesting to say, but I'm going to talk about something interesting that I like, which is Bright Cellars, which, look, wine subscription service. If you're not in on wine subscription service, well, you're missing out. Wine's great right now, especially this time of year. People are liking, sipping a little glass of wine at night. Sun's out longer. Days are longer. Bright Cellars is the wine subscription service that helps you find wines you love without the normal intimidation and wine pretentiousness you're used to. This whole show is probably about knocking down pretentiousness, usually in golf, but especially in the wine game. Bright Cellars sources their wines from all over the world: France, Portugal, Australia, South Africa, California, and many more places. Best part, if you not like the bottle of wine, Bright Cellars will work with you to include a replacement bottle in your next order. They pair you with unique wines using their crazy accurate algorithm. Just take their 30-second quiz, which we've all taken. Let the wine magic happen, and they'll pair you 6 wines that fit your taste profile. This thing's awesome.
Yeah. Do you like dark chocolate, milk chocolate, the whole thing?
Right.
The questions get ridiculous. You don't know why that they have anything to do with wine. But what happens is you get this package sent to your house, and it is the ultimate just like variety of wines that you never would have went to the wine store and purchased on your own. It's stuff to be able to step out of the box and try something new, a different type of wine, a different variation of it. And honestly, I couldn't recommend it more. I got it. I opened up a bottle with my mom, and she had some with her friends, and it was like, oh, what's this wine? They have a story about it. Oh, it came from this company, Bright Cellars. So yeah, it's a really good thing. We got summer coming up, late night summers, and you want to sit by a fire, open up some wine. That's living.
You kind of broke my brain when you said outside the box, because I was thinking people who buy box wine, like outside the box,
slap in the
bag.
bag.
Now you're going to these beautiful bottles that are curated for you.
Good one.
That broke.
Yeah,
I couldn't stop thinking about it.
So you're saying I said get away from the box of wine.
I'm saying like a good slogan for a wine company that has like nice bottles like this.
Okay.
Like if you do outside the box.
Good one.
We are giving you 50% off your first 6 bottle orders from Bright Cellars. Head to brightcellars.com/4. That's Bright Cellars, BrightCellars.com/4. You're going to receive 15% off your first 6 bottle order. Grab your passport, a wine glass, and come explore the world of wine with Bright Cellars. What I was going to say about the whole Brooksy thing, which you're right, he's fucked now. You can't let people know that. You absolutely cannot ever. That's like when someone says, I hate that nickname you guys gave me. Like, that's just the only nickname you're ever going to be called for the rest of your life. But what I would say is that, folks were using that as a counterpoint to Brooks's and in Bryson's head. I would argue in that case, like, the fans are in Bryson's head more than, like, Brooks Koepka. Like, if they were saying anything, and that's just because he's admitted before that, like, what people think of him, what people say about him, whatever, rattles him. So I think that's like more of a combination. I don't think if Brooks was just walking by Bryson doing an interview that he like wouldn't have been able to focus and do the interview. But I do think like clearly the two of them do not like each other. Clearly some form of Brooks is in Bryson's head. I don't think it's to the degree that Brooks Koepka despises Bryson DeChambeau.
Right.
But these guys are both some of the best players in the world. They're both major champions. They're both pretty damn young and going to be on the scene for a long time. And it's very cool that we're going to now get, this hatred is going to live on and going to be hyped up as it should be for probably the next 20 years of golf. And that's fucking awesome.
It is funny to think, though, like you guys are saying if they get paired up at Torrey, what's really going to happen? Like, what are they going to meet on the first tee and start throwing haymakers at each other? No. The hype is probably far better than what would actually happen between the two of them. They'll probably like shake hands or fist bump and be like, all right, let's go play. But just there is a potential for something to happen, and that is what people thrive off of that.
It's almost better if they don't get paired up, and then like all the footage of them like walking by each other on the putting green, we break down for fucking 30 seconds straight.
Right.
Like that type of stuff, you're right, I think is better than what would actually deliver. It almost ended if they just played together and everything was fine.
Yeah, so now I'm on this side. They cannot be paired together on just the beginning. No, they can't. They have to meet naturally on a Sunday, final pairing. Like that has to, or any pairing, right? Like they have to play the golf tournament and somehow, some way get paired together. Play the same way, whatever it is. That's when it's going to be natural. That's when you're going to get crazy fist bumps. And it's going to be me versus you. I'm beating you today. That's what we need. If they're both just paired up on Thursday morning at Torrey Pines US Open, it's like, well, they had no other choice. They're not going to be fucking, like you're saying, fist fighting each other.
Right.
They're going to be super cordial. They're just going to be worrying about themselves. If one guy goes 3 over par and the other guy goes 1 under par, no one's going to give a shit. And they're just going to walk off the green and that's going to be it. But if they're both 5 under on Saturday at the U.S. Open, and everyone's out on the Barstool Sports book picking Bryson versus Brooks, and what's it going to be? And they meet each other on the first tee, and the announcer's like, all right, step out the tee is Brooks. We're all going to be like, holy fuck, who's going to win today? If they're not, even if they're not in the final pairing, we're not even going to give a shit. Like, it needs to be natural. So hopefully our friends at the USGA don't ruin that. Like, we need the climax, man. We need it. We need to build.
I'll tell you this. I genuinely don't know. If the two of them were paired up, they're tied, final round of a major, I don't know which one I'm rooting for.
Dude, part of me thinks that Bryson is more willing to like squash the beef and just be a nice guy, like face to face.
For sure.
Like I really think Brooks could be a dick, like face to face with him. I think he'll hold on to this for a long time. I think if Bryson had the choice, he would be like, you know, man, we're both competitors out there. Like that's the kind of guy he is. Like he's a very, very nice guy. Not saying Brooks isn't, but Brooks is like, in some ways, like kind of similar to me, where like he can't let things go, and he's like he's a little more hot headed, and he's just gonna be like, fuck this guy forever.
Yeah, if you watch Brooks in his interviews, he's spicier.
Spicy.
He's far more spicy. Like Bryson will sit there and he'll talk about science and golf for 20 minutes if the reporters will let him. Brooks is like kind of just like, let me get the fuck out of here. That's his whole vibe.
As simple as like we've been talking shit about Bryson, and he comes up to me at the drive range and goes, how's your pops, how's the restaurant, amazing things that's going on. He just diffused the situation. Like that's what he would do with Brooks. Oh, how's it going? Like how's the girl, how's everything going? And Brooks would be like, fuck, I can't hate this guy right now.
How much do you think the player impact program is playing into any of this, if at all? Because
Yeah.
I see people talking about that, where now that there's this pool of money and you can get millions of dollars at the end of the year.
Are we getting bamboozled?
If you right, and that's what people are saying.
But
I don't think we are.
But I don't. Even
We're
if
just
we
living a
even if
reality show.
But even if the player impact program was influencing it, I don't think that means it's fake. Like I think that they're just more likely to like air it out. Like that wasn't fake. Like that's just how Brooks feels about him. So
I think
I get that. Like anybody, even with the Dave and Brooks thing, where it's people are like, is this Pip related? To me, it's almost like it doesn't matter. It's like, who cares? Like if it is or isn't, like we're getting it. It doesn't matter.
Right. The only good thing that might come from this is that it might make Bryson a little more invested in it. Because I do think he's like, I don't want to have to deal with this at all. Where Brooks very much likes to play it up in the interviews and on social media and all that shit. But if Bryson sees that carrot of $8 million or whatever it is at the end of the season, he might come back at Brooks and be like, you're a fucking meathead too. We're just two fucking meatheads going back and forth.
There's no denying that Brooks saw the Pip. And he's running with it. I mean, and I agree with you, Riggs. Who cares what led to this? And I mean, I'm sorry. Like, this is the most we've seen of Brooks on social media drama in a long time.
I think it might have just brought out what he naturally is, and he's like, oh, if I do these things that I like to do, like I like to troll people, I like to troll Bryson DeChambeau.
But dude,
if I do more of this, I might get paid to do it.
But last year he was trolling fucking. He posts clown photos of Brandel Chambly, and he shirts the shit out of DJ going to last road. He did steroids tweet. He tweeted the picture of his 4 major trophies and just like tweeted it at Bryson DeChambeau a year before the PIP program existed. So
okay, but you don't think Brooks Koepka sat around with his team or his buddies and they're just sitting down and he saw the news of the PIP and he's like, I'm gonna fucking dominate this thing. Like this is just, we're just going to win this. You don't think that he's actively just being like, I'm going to win this thing and I know how to do it better than anyone else?
I'm not saying he didn't, but what I'm saying is not like he went from never tweeting or having troll jobs or anything to all of a sudden he's a brand new human being.
The Brandel thing was a good point.
Yeah, I think this is pretty in line with the stuff that he's done, and if the PIP program like kind of had the impact that you just said you think it does, Frankie, then I think then it's just like the most successful thing of all time.
Right, I would agree that it's all
great.
Good. Like I don't think any of it's necessarily fake, but if it's gonna make these guys just turn up their personalities a little bit more, I'm all in, and I think that is what it's doing.
Yeah, there's got to be there definitely is just natural hate there, right? Like it would come off so unnatural if someone just came out and just started hating someone random. Like that then would be like, okay, this guy's in it for the check. Like what would be the most just like random person to come out and be like, I fucking hate this guy, and like we just be like, no,
Webb Simpson just started tweeting that he
meet me on the fucking 9th green or whatever.
Yeah, no, Riggs is right. There are receipts from the past that show that this is genuine, and the PIP. We calling it the PIP? We're going with that?
I keep thinking of my penis.
Okay. So we're going to keep calling it.
That's what I called it when I was a little kid.
We got to get a new name.
That's what I called it as a little kid. Like every time I hear PIP, I'm like, man, I used to say like I
actually don't hate using the full name of Player Impact Program.
We got to get rid of the PIP. Every time I hear it, I just think of my pee-pee.
Player impact program. We can't. It's a mouthful. I can't do that all day.
I lost my train of thought.
We're gonna do that every fucking show. I'm gonna say that all day.
Do you hate me?
No, I don't. That was such a funny thought that I lost my own train.
How's your little Pip doing there, buddy? Is
just what I used to call it. You know.
What I was saying is there are receipts that Brooks clearly hates Bryson from 18 months ago that he had no idea that this thing was coming.
I would love to know who released this video. Like, imagine if it was just like, what if it was Brooks's team that had it and released it? Like, hey, we have this guy.
How would they have gotten it? Like,
Right.
how would they have gotten it?
I don't know.
That's what
I don't know.
I guess.
Bryson Brooks could have been. By the way, their names are just way too similar. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah,
Right.
I know.
And also with the Brooksy thing for Bryson, like it's like
On this show, like
It is
today, I've
possible-
said it back and forth 3 or 4 times.
It is possible that someone sent it to, like, someone at Golf Channel maybe sent it to someone on Brooks' team, just being like, look how funny this is. Like, this is a very funny interaction between your guy and Bryson. And then they might have been like, oh, let's put this out because it's amazing.
Yeah, the Brooksy Bryson thing reminds me of like that Tommy Lahren when people just call her Tammy. It's like the exact same. It's the exact same. It's close enough that it just rattles their cage.
And earlier in the podcast, I said, let's flip them in that situation, and I thought my brain was gonna melt down, and like, I thought you were gonna have to put me in the hospital. But yeah, I'd be very curious if we'll never find out who put that video out, but it's a very interesting question.
New Amsterdam Vodka is the official vodka of Barstool Sports, has been for several years. If you don't know about New Amsterdam Vodka, it is a premium 80-proof vodka made from some of the finest grains of America's heartland. It is 5 times distilled for unparalleled smoothness. Then it is filtered 3 times for a clean, crisp finish. This is what I use for all of the transfusions that I drink. A lot of times you may go with a double transfusion if you're really looking to have a day. Maybe you're trying to, it's been a long week, you want to decompress a little bit. Nothing better than New Amsterdam Vodka. It's again been what we use, an official vodka of Barstool Sports for a long time. It's the only vodka I have in my apartment, the only vodka that I use for all the cocktails that I'm going to whip up, and we're very thankful that New Amsterdam Vodka exists.
Yeah, that New Amsterdam Vodka commercial's still rolling. Somehow, some way, I'm in there. We're drinking New Amsterdam Vodka. We're cheering on the Islanders.
What a moment that was when we were down at the watch party in Charleston when that commercial came on.
Oh, yeah.
Place went fucking crazy. We were like, just wait. You just got to wait. Wait till you guys see what happens. And are you wearing the same sweatshirt that you're wearing now?
No, I was wearing a jersey.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's just...
I was going to say, you haven't taken that shirt off in weeks.
I've washed it. I've just gotten a couple tweets like how much does that thing stink? But come home, throw it in the wash, throw it in the dryer. It's ready to go by the next morning. I just got to keep rolling with it.
It's a risky one too because if you wash it, I feel like that thing will shrink.
So it's kind of letting it air dry. There's a whole process to it, Riggsy.
That's good.
New Amsterdam Vodka.
New Amsterdam Vodka is great, man. I never was a vodka drinker.
Yeah.
I'd try the other stuff, like bars, whatever. Just get me is it Well vodka, right?
Yeah.
And now, like, I'll ask for New Amsterdam. Like, I feel like it's a cool thing to know what kind of vodka you like, just because we've drank so much of it, and they've been a sponsor for us for a long time, and I really enjoy it. We have it at Borelli's, and whenever I do vodka soda, it's just automatic New Amsterdam.
Completely agree there. The official vodka of Barstool Sports. So big thanks to New Amsterdam Vodka. Okay, Tiger Woods. We got a new photo of Tiger Woods. No boot. He's bootless. And, I'd say he looks similar to how he looked in the last photo. Similar pose, the crutches, the whole deal, except the boot is off, which signifies progress. So I thought it was a positive photo.
The leg sock, though, is the come down. No boot, but full leg sock. So we hope that leg is...
Reminded me of, who's that quarterback? Alex Smith. Wasn't wearing that leg sock for a long time, and that's that's the gnarliest type of injury you can have. But, I think it's progress. I'm not a doctor or a medical professional, but it seems like we're headed in the right direction.
I mean, the boot coming off is huge.
It is?
Huge. He had a grimace on his face, though. He wasn't like smiling. The picture wasn't like, oh boy, I'm psyched to take this one.
He's at a soccer game. It's you never know. I don't know.
Right.
We didn't talk about this on the last show, but what did you guys think of his Phil congratulatory tweet? 7 exclamation points. Seemed like a lot.
You counted them.
I did, yeah.
Do you think that has any
That's
significance?
just a hold down.
Does 7 have any significance with like Tiger and Phil?
I mean, Phil just won his 6th.
Oh, okay. Would have been nice if he added
If he's
that.
like, maybe he's dangling the number 7 in front of him, like, I got way more than you. Probably not. But it was just a lot of exclamation points. Like, my mom uses a lot of exclamation points, and it's just
like, has Phil lost to Tiger Woods 7 times in his career or something, right? Like,
I wish it added up to Tiger having 7 more majors than him currently.
So do I. That would have been so good.
Some hidden chirp. That's
I know. I was hoping it would be something.
Not to be believed.
It just seemed like too many. I mean, I was excited that Phil won too, but it was just a lot.
What are we thinking about Phil Mickelson on Twitter? More of the same?
Yeah,
Phil.
it is, but I would say that it comes with for the last couple of years, it's been like, man, this guy's really losing it with each tweet. But then he just rebranded his whole Twitter game by now. All those tweets are coming from the PGA champion. Like, he was cuckoo. He was slinging coffee. He's doing whatever the fuck he was doing, and nobody really cared. It's like he's just on his way out to pasture. But now he's as relevant as you can be and still firing off tweets. So it's the same tweets. You're right, Frankie. It's the same Twitter game. I just feel like now it comes in my brain from a totally different place all of a sudden.
How do you feel about the fact that he's just not like that in person? Like, he just won the PGA Championship. He was super, like, not excited. He was very just, like, happy just about the crowd that was there, about the game of golf. He was super professional. Kind of just was like a ho-hum, just won the PGA Championship, going to go on my jet and leave. Then he goes on Twitter, and he's a completely different person. He's got character. He's got personality. He's, like, chirping people. He's super cocky, one of the cockiest people in the world on Twitter. Almost to the point where it's, like, not him running it.
Well, I have two things to say about that. One, the internet does that to people. You can just be whoever you want on the internet.
I'm like that, yeah.
Right, yeah. But the second...
It's a high school bathroom.
Yeah, I'm an asshole.
The second part is actually more important. Have we ever talked on the show how sure we think that that's actually Phil Mickelson running that account? I'm sure we have, but I actually... these days, I'm less inclined to believe that it's him all the time. Just because it is so different.
Look, I'm a believer in general. I've gone down this road of Tom Brady's Twitter account and social media. Like, I choose to believe. So I think every tweet he's ever sent really is sent by Phil. But I'm not backing that up even with logic. It's because I just want to believe, and I don't want to even consider anything you guys are going to say that would make me maybe not believe it.
I'm with you, but if we're going to believe that side of it, then we also have to now believe that he is going on Twitter and searching his own name and responding to these tweets, because a lot of the tweets that he's responding to are not at Phil Mickelson. It's just, oh, Phil Mickelson won the PGA. How awesome is that? And he responds. If we're in a world where we're believing that Phil Mickelson is searching his own name on Twitter, that's just a strange world. I'm not saying it's not a world that we're living in. It's just a fucking weird place.
I think if you think Phil sends out every one of these text messages, these tweets, you should leave cookies out for Santa Claus too. I think it's crazy.
I agree with that.
I mean, it's just too savvy. It's too tech savvy. It's way too witty. I understand he's a fucking funny guy, man. Like the video, the C2 plus HIV bombs, the whole thing, like the way that he was able to put that famous video out with the coffee and the whole thing. If you rewatch that video, how legit, like that's like a reading off a script basically. Like to remember all that, to deliver it into a selfie mode, like that would take me a year to accomplish that video. And so that just shows that he is like off the dome a very funny guy. But man, like the juxtaposition between the Phil Mickelson on the golf course, even in interviews, and then his Twitter game is nuts. Like at least Max Homa was like a funny guy. Shout out Max Homa. Was at the Barstool Classic, yeah.
He was at the Barstool Classic. He was there on Monday, hanging out with the people, and I was a little bit, he showed up and he's kind of texting like, should I come by the event? I was like, yeah, it'd be great. And he shows up, and there's a lot of people having Trulies, hanging out, having a great time, which you should be. But they see Max, they're like, can we get a picture? And now I'm like, man, on his day off, he's like, shows up to a putting green. He's got to take pictures and like talk to strangers all day. That fucking guy couldn't be better, dude. I look over 5 minutes later after, again, being like, do I need to save Max? And he's just holding court with like 10 people in a circle, telling stories about like playing, in a group with Phil and what he said on the range. And like, he's just the fucking man. Max, like the best guy ever. So you're right. Big shout out to him coming to the Barstool Classic. But yeah, Max is fucking awesome.
But he's the same virtual in reality, right? Like he'll chirp you, he'll do whatever. I feel like, I don't know, man. We've just been around Phil so much where like we don't even know if he recognizes. He's interacted with us so much. He literally like got interviewed for a second with, or did he? Did you ever end up like talking to him on camera, Riggs, when you went to the match?
I saw him. I've seen him off camera a few times, and every time I've seen him off camera, he has known me by name and referenced an interaction that we've had, which is insane because we've never really spent time together.
All right, well that makes all right, that's a little more. Because I was gonna say like when we've seen him on the range and stuff, he's just Phil Mickelson, walks right by us, and that is what it is. And I'm like, all right, this guy doesn't know who he's interacting with on Twitter because me and him talk about Oort clouds and the cosmos all the time. Like you'd think you'd give me a little like attaboy once in a while, but I don't know.
I'd almost want to play two truths and a lie with him with tweets. Like print out 3 tweets of his and ask him about all three of them, or just in a way to try to figure out if it's actually him. You know what I mean? Like, pick which ones of these are true that you tweeted and which one you did not tweet.
But let me ask this. If he's tweeting 2/3 of his tweets, then why wouldn't he just tweet 100% of them? Like, what would be the need to have a third of the people be, like, witty? Like, if he's just already doing it pretty fucking well, why would they need someone to do it a little bit more? That just doesn't make any sense.
Damn. Maybe he is just firing off those tweets.
I'll be honest. I'm believing it less and less.
Really?
Yeah. I just doesn't.
What the fuck, Trey?
It just doesn't. I don't know. I'll say what.
I don't know.
There's honestly too many of them. He tweets too much, and the searching of his own name just doesn't seem like something Phil would do. It seems like somebody running a famous person's account would do to get traction on blogs like Barstool Sports and all the other ones. Like, it just doesn't seem like something he would do.
You ever see Polar Express?
I'm sure at some point.
It's the weird one with Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
And you know the history behind that. If you ever seen Polar Express, and to all the listeners, I will be making a point here, but and it's not a good point, actually. I don't even know why I'm prefacing that. But
let's just keep going. I love it.
Fucking Polar Express, actually, when they did that, when they did the animation for Polar Express, it looks super weird. The little kids have like the weirdest facial expressions, and you're like, what the hell's going on with this? It's because Tom Hanks did all the CGI for all the kids, and they didn't realize that like kids have different facial expressions to certain things than adults. So like when like a kid would be really excited or happy, it just looks weird when Tom Hanks would do that face. Like they scanned his face, he would be excited, he'd be nervous, he'd be running, and it just looked really fucking weird on the children. So when you rewatch that movie, just know Tom Hanks did the facial expressions and all of the movements for the kids also. Fucking strange.
Not going to finish that with a Phil Mickelson point.
Well, well, you're.
I know.
No. The reason why I'm bringing that up is because you're saying that you're not a believer. I'm sorry. I'm feeling like the little kid in Polar Express, where the jingle bell is hitting me in the foot, and I'm ringing it, and I can't hear it because I didn't believe. And all of a sudden, I'm starting to hear that bell, and I'm starting to believe. You know, Santa Claus is in the back. He's coming out of the fucking closet. He's coming out of the Jesus Christ. Holy fuck. Santa Claus is coming out of the workshop, and all of a sudden I can hear the ring. All right. I'm starting to believe that Phil Mickelson does send all these tweets. Okay. Riggs has made a very good point. Riggs has come to the court. He's made his statement, and I have I've figured out that Phil Mickelson does send these tweets now. I'm 100% confident.
I'm going the other way, unfortunately.
Sorry for the Polar Express little detour there, but
I liked it. All right, the drama continues. We are sort of we're in a weird phase because we're recording. We had to stop for a meeting. We're kind of recording again. In that time, we had the announcement of this match. That is the next, version of what started with Phil versus Tiger Woods at Shadow Creek. We got Phil Mickelson and Tom Brady against Bryson DeChambeau and Aaron Rodgers. They're playing in Montana, July 6th. And Brooks Koepka, who we've been talking about, Brooks Koepka, Bryson, Phil, Twitter. Brooks Koepka just tweeted, "Sorry, bro," at Aaron Rodgers.
That is a pip tweet, by the way. If earlier we were talking like what's for the player impact program, what's not. I understand some of it is genuine, but "Sorry, bro," at Aaron Rodgers, inserting himself into something that he's not really involved in at all, then that's a pip tweet.
Yeah, but that's also just having fun. Like a pip tweet or not.
I agree.
That's just Phil. Like, I don't think there's any – I think Phil does that regardless after the PGA Championship. He's glued to Twitter. He's having fun. I don't know what –
You mean Phil's tweet? Phil, because we're talking about
I
Brooks's tweet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Brooks's tweet. I thought he meant Phil's tweet on top of it where Phil – I don't know. Did you see that? Phil said something like, "No, I'm just going to step aside here. I feel like something's going on."
Well, Phil said, "I think I'm in the middle of something and should step aside, parentheses, except they want the current PGA champ." That's a pretty good tweet.
It's really good.
It's a good tweet.
It's a good tweet. That tweet's popping. It is. Like, it might all be Pip. It might be Pip related. It might not be, but, like, it's fucking awesome. It's like the biggest concern, I think, with the Pip thing originally was that, like, everything was going to feel fake and completely manufactured. And I don't think that this does. I will say that, like, guys are just posting more pictures of them now on, like, the third tee at the event that they're at, being like, "Can't wait to play at this." And it's like, again, if fucking Webb Simpson tweets that now, he's not automatically going to vault from the 120th most interesting player on tour to, like, 7th and win, $4 million. But yeah, I think overall the PIP has led to larger amounts of like drama among golfers. I think it's been more.
A couple things. I don't know if my mic is working, so what you guys might not be able to hear me. I don't know.
That's
great.
better. That's better.
But
so these mics are like they're directional, and I noticed you had it facing away from you. That's why it sounded like before we were recording, you were on the other side of the room. Whatever.
I want to apologize to everybody last time. This microphone, I guess it sounded like I was yelling into their speakers. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. But I want to apologize. What I don't want to have happen is to look at every cool thing that happens in golf and then have me say that's a Pip tweet, that's a Pip moment, because I think they are genuine. Like we talked about earlier, maybe it's turned up a little bit, but that I'm not going to make a habit of calling every cool and interesting tweet that happens in the golf world a Pip tweet, because that's annoying and I don't think it's true.
No, I agree. I agree. We can't go down that rabbit hole. Like, this is just an incentive for these guys to just be more fun in social media, engage with fans, right? It's just an incentive to make them do it. But like Riggs is saying, you have to have genuine debates. You have to have genuine like hatred. You have to have genuine love. Whatever you're actually getting into, people will be able to see through that, you know, as easy as it comes. I don't know what the fuck I was trying to say there, but people will be able to see right through that, right? Like, we all know that there is some aspect of Bryson DeChambeau and Brooks Koepka that is absolutely real. If they're in the fucking alleyway somewhere, they're going to fucking try and like shank each other. So this is real. It's not fake. It has nothing to do with the money. Yes, it is a little, I'm a little skeptical that it's all just coming out of nowhere like crazy for the last 4 months. Like, it's just been nuts since like this year started, really. But Phil Mickelson, that's just a great tweet. He's kind of got me just like stunned at how good he is at Twitter.
Does that tweet make you more or less like you were earlier, Trent?
It makes me believe it's him less.
What? That's crazy.
I don't understand your brain right now.
There's one tweet that I don't know if it's Phil Mickelson. He goes, "Tom and I have some unfinished business. Unfortunately, it will be at Bryson and Aaron's expense," with 2 laughing emojis. It's like, that seems like a social media manager that thinks he's got it like all figured out.
Yeah, I honestly, like, what my main takeaway now from Phil's tweets are is that they're too good for him to be able to tweet like that. Like, as mean as that sounds, I don't think he is running his own account. There's just it seems impossible.
The Jake Owen story of handing the $100 bill, like, it's like I think he is that creative. I think his tweets are that good, and I think it's without question Phil Mickelson.
Right, like I think we roast social media managers because they actually suck at social media. It's like, I think it's more likely that Phil would be really good at his own social, and that somebody hired to do it would probably suck at it.
Again, my big hang-up is him searching his own name on Twitter. I just don't see a 6-time major champion worth $1 gazillion being like, let me see what people are talking about me on Twitter. I'm going to search Phil Mickelson, and I'm going to respond to a bunch of random people. That just seems like it's not happening. But maybe it is. But the other side of that is Phil is clearly image conscious. He wants to be cool. He wears the cool aviators, all of that. So there is a chance he does it, but it just seems impossible to me that he would do that.
I mean, to both your points, though, like, he had no family at the PGA. Really weird.
Weird.
He's in a private jet flying home. He's got time to spend. There's Wi-Fi for sure on the plane, along with bottle service and whatever the hell else he wants. Like, I could totally see Phil being self-absorbed on Twitter, searching his own name, just like smile, giggling, having a glass of red wine on his route home. Like, I think that's the easiest picture in my brain I've ever created.
That's totally fair, and Kevin Durant is proof of this as well. You wouldn't think a guy like Kevin Durant would ever go on Twitter or mix it up. There's no reason to. He's proven everything he needed to. There's no reason to be on there. And these professional athletes, some of them are just on Twitter like the rest of us. They just happen to have these incredible jobs. So I still don't it's certainly not him 100% of the time.
Can't be 100%, but I am more of a believer ever since Riggs brought up his points. Can't be 100% though.
Something that is 100% is the Wingman, gentlemen, from Bushnell, okay? It's the world's first golf speaker featuring audible GPS distance. It says center 155, front 142, and it's awesome. It gives you center, front, back, from any spot. When you roll up to the tee, it just tells you the distance to the front, back, and center as well, so you kind of can get a feel for the hole. You sync it up to your Bushnell app, and it shows you the bird's eye, the aerial view of the hole. You can see where trouble might be, bunkers might be, where the fairway goes. Is it a dogleg left, right? If you've never been there before. You listen to music throughout the day. We've talked about whenever we go on these golf trips and we decide to, hang out before, after the round, somebody's hotel room. You don't even have to bring a speaker because the sound system on the Bushnell Wingman is fucking awesome. You just make sure it's charged up, which it lasts 10 hours anyways, and you can listen to music on a really high-quality deal that gives you GPS. It's the Bushnell Wingman, and the thing's fantastic.
I've used it in the shower before.
Interesting.
No, speaker at home. It's great.
Speaker at home. You get in there. You listen to a little bit of Santana.
That's
Throw
your
that
shower
on there.
music?
Recently, I've been on a crazy Santana kick, and it's good on the golf course too, man. Santana's got a little bit of everything.
Santana's good. I like Santana, yeah.
I don't know a ton of Santana, and we found that out when we were down at Kiawah. Frankie started playing Santana songs. I like Santana, but I wish I need to get more into Santana. Maybe I'll bring my Bushnell into my bathroom and listen to it while I shower.
Oye, como va.
You say that all the time, just randomly.
Ritmo, bueno pa gozar. Dude, because we had this one guy at Borelli's that I used to go on the back, and I'd be waitering or busboy. This would go on for years, and no matter where he was in the restaurant, he could be in the back storage area, in one of the refrigerators, anything. I'd be like, I'd just come back and I'd just go, oye, como va? And he would immediately, no matter where, just go, meritmo. Never missed it once. Shout out George at Borelli's. Never missed it once. You'd hear it like muffled behind a door. He'd be in the bathroom like, meritmo. It's so good.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
The Bushnell Wingman also has a bite magnet. It's got 12 pounds of pull force, keeping it on the on your little cart bar. Bumps, whatever it is, that thing's just going to stay on there. It's like, I don't know, anybody could pull it off there. So do yourself a favor, go to bushnellgolf.com/Fore, order your Wingman Golf Speaker today. This match. So, they've done these. This is going to be probably, third or fourth one that they've done now? Maybe the third that they've done. It's tough because with COVID, there was the charity, Champions for Charity stuff that was going on. So it's hard to keep track of how many there have been. I think this is the third one of this sort of franchise. But Phil and Brady against Bryson and Rogers. Brady's got to be wanting to redeem himself, right? If you remember, he played horrifically last time. He did hold out that one shot, but he just played terrible last time. So I imagine he's out there, he did go on and win the Super Bowl and be MVP, so that's impressive. But he's got to be wanting to play a little bit better golf, so I'm sure he's excited for this.
We were talking to our guy Hubs, who does the Yankees, and he's a big Green Bay Packer fan. He was saying that Aaron Rodgers is sick at golf. So if you've got
disgusting's the word he used.
That is the word he used. He said disgusting. So if you've got Bryson, clearly a very good golfer. You've got Aaron Rodgers, clearly a good golfer now. Bryson better than Phil. Rodgers better than Brady, or whatever we saw at the last match from Brady. Sounds like it might be we got a blowout on our hands potentially.
Wow.
Like, Bryson is far and away a better golfer right now, like heads up, than Phil Mickelson, right?
I mean,
or is it not easy to say far and away because he just won the PGA Championship?
Yeah, I think that's good catch.
But also, I think we would all agree that the current form of Bryson is better than the current form of Phil Mickelson. I know with what you just said is true, but also,
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would say that, like, if they play 20 rounds. Yeah, I mean, if they play 20 rounds, I think Bryson beats him in, more rounds than not. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Riggs, you look like you disagree with that.
No, I don't. Like, right? You just go by world rankings. Like, clearly one is just on a longer, with a larger sample size, one is just better than the other right now. Right. But do you get into, like, once they're on that level, they're so good that, like, any given day, it's marginal, the difference.
Yeah.
And also think about the environment that they're entering with the match. Like, that's Phil. That's Phil hamming it up, talking shit. Like, Bryson, he's a robot. I don't know necessarily how he's going to perform under those types of circumstances, but I don't know. It'll be very interesting to see.
It's interesting to think about if you take tournament play out of the mix and we just talk about the sport of golf and just going out there and playing your own ball. You don't have to worry about winning anything or playing for anything. Just your actual skill of golf. What the actual, like, the marginal difference
between a Kevin Kisner, a Tiger Woods, a Phil Mickelson. Like, it can't be that fucking far off between their skill. Like, I think on any given day, one guy's just better than the other. Like, but then you add tournament play and pressure and that it factor, and you get a Tiger Woods, and that's the difference right there. But if you just bring them out to your local country club, are they all the same skill?
It's razor thin.
Look at the match play every year, the Dell match play. Like, the highest seed doesn't just win the group; they like never win the group. In fact, it's like the this year, like one person inside the top 20 in the rankings or something advanced. So it was like, they're all pretty much the same. I think it's only over 72 holes that think about this, if somebody beats someone else by, 4 shots in a tournament, that was like they just dominated and ran away with the tournament a little bit. Like, that's 1 shot a day in a round. That's crazy. That's nothing.
Right, you need all 4 days of golf to have a difference. If not, you've just got to tie for first with 32 people.
So if the top 100 guys in the world reach a threshold of the actual game of golf where they're just all the same, and then it's that extra stuff that separates the rest from the pack, is that like where we're at?
Yeah, I think it's the mental space. I mean, because like this match just comes down to Brady and Rogers. Like, if either one of them just plays terribly, like with all of us, there's a massive delta in like your good and bad days. For them, it's 3 strokes. Like, they played really well if they shot 69. They played okay if they shot 72. For us, we played really well if we shot 80. We played really bad if we shot 97. Like, it's just like there's just a lot more in the middle. So yeah, I think it would be impossible to, like, with any discernible eye, if you replaced their body but just saw like the golf club move, to tell any real difference between the top guy in the world and like 100.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think like other sports. Like, Mike Trout is just a better baseball player than the rest of them, and it's not even like, I don't even know that it's really that close, right? He hits it further, he runs faster, he's better in the field, right? Like, a football player can just be like, if you just put them on a field, a quarterback can be better than the other quarterback. He can be more agile, he can throw the ball further. Like, I feel like golfers, like, there's really a limit to like how good, like they're at the limit of how good you can be. What are they going to go out, shoot a 56? Like you put 2 guys on a local country club, they're going to shoot a 62. They're just as good as the other guy.
I disagree with that. Like,
yeah,
yeah, I do too.
Like, Tiger Woods was that Trout, like, where it looks the same. And like, if you put a bat in Judge's hand or Trout's hand and like you just remove the bodies again and just heard the sound of the pop off the bat, like, there's no way that you could tell the difference between anything that they do. If you just saw the ball come in from outfield, like, I think, over the long stretch is where you see the differences. Over the stretch of 162 games or a whole season of golf is where you start to notice these like small differences of shots gained from like a certain area. If you're a stroke better than someone every round, like, over the year, you're just not even in the same ballpark as that golfer. Yeah. I really think in that upper echelon of athlete, it's so hard to tell, and I think that's where a lot of it just comes down to their mental space. And I think having supreme confidence, I think, is just like the number one asset. Just an incredible belief in oneself, where it's cocky for sure, but it's also on that fine line of like cocky and confidence that walk around. Like, I think that's really the difference in any level.
Yeah, and being like really good when it matters, right, is like just the difference between literally 1 stroke and and coming up 1 stroke short a bunch and coming up 1 stroke like on top a bunch is the difference between Tiger Woods and like and Colin Montgomery, right? Like, that is literally like, that's it. He's like it, or Chris DeMarco for like a 3 or 4 year stretch. Like, Chris DeMarco, who's just on Golf Channel now, who's great, but like he's just like talking about golf on Golf Channel and didn't win any majors, was like a stroke or 2 strokes worse than Tiger in like 3 or 4 majors over a couple year stretch. And like, they were the exact same golfer, except one is Tiger Woods and one is Chris DeMarco.
That's kind of where my brain was kind of floating. Like, that, saying that's crazy to me, because I think when I apply that to other sports, it's like, you talk about hockey, like the Connor McDavid and the next guy out there, like, they're not playing the same sport. But like, Chris DeMarco and Tiger Woods were right there neck and neck. It's just Tiger had this other thing that like for some reason he was able to beat him by 1 or 2 strokes a day. But like in another sport, it's more clear, I guess, right? I think that's why
I agree with that.
It's just like, oh, Connor McDavid's just faster than that guy. That's why he was better.
Right. The athleticism comes into the view, where in golf, it's like, no, Tiger just hit it to 6 feet more consistently, and you hit it to 7 feet. That looks like nothing, but then over time, like you just make 80% of 6-footers and you only make 70% of 7-footers. So I guess in that aspect, it looks more similar to just our pathetic, like, amateur eyes, because you're right in, like, when you saw Michael Vick run around the field, dodge 32 tacklers and just zip 160 yards, you're like, whatever that guy just did was way better than anything I've ever seen in my life. So yeah, I do, like, unless DJ is gonna like make that hole in one from 440 yards or whenever that was and roll to an inch, like that's really the only thing that we could tell the difference of. It's like, no, he just made it in and won. Like nobody else could do that.
We talked about this with Scott Fawcett, or was it Fawcett or whoever, like how Tiger just did things that weren't that like great, and he just won tournaments by 5 or 6 strokes, like just hitting middle of fairways. It doesn't show as much as the other sports. It must be infuriating to be these guys, and I'd actually love to ask like a guy like Kiz who would actually give us the answer, like how infuriating it is to miss a cut or like just lose, like you're saying, by 2 or 3 when you know that's just 1 stroke on that Thursday or Friday, or like a missed read putt or a lip out, where it's not like another sport where you know the moment that you lost the game, right? Like, I hate to bring it back to hockey, but Tristan Jarry just passes the puck to Josh Bailey the other night. They lost the game right there. But like Kisner misses the cut at Kiawah, and he can maybe like he can pull 15 different things out. You don't know where it actually dropped off. You know what I mean? Like maybe it's that one misread chip that Dewey told him to go up on that. But like that was on Thursday, and he missed the cut by 1, and you're like, well, fuck. I played just as good as this guy.
Dude, they were talking about Louis Oosthuizen during the PGA Championship broadcast, where he's infamously finished second a bazillion times, and if a couple different things break his way, instead of having 1 major, he has 5 or 4, and it's like his career is looked at completely differently.
And dude, that's a putt.
Think about how close he is to being a Masters champion, a PGA champion, a U.S. Open. Like he could have a career Grand Slam very easily. Like two 12-footers go in that just didn't over the course of fucking 16 hours of golf over the weekend, and he just is like one of the best players of all time. That's insane.
Right, and each one of those putts, if you look, like they'll put the percentage up, it's like a 32% chance make, right? So like he has that 30% chance to win that major at that given time, and he just doesn't. Like the 70% always hits for Louis Oosthuizen for some reason.
It's also like when you play a golf match with your buddies, you know when he's lost or won the hole because you've either put it out of bounds or like he kind of has in an individual match, so it's easy. But when you play better matches where you're both hitting fairways, you're both hitting greens, golf is just like mentally exhausting because there's really like no difference in what you're doing. Like, so it just becomes, basically to your point, Frankie, like this world that you live in that you really can't discern like what's better or worse than the other one, because at the end you just made a par. Like I'll have 60 for birdie, Riggs will have 13. He'll 13 for par. He'll make that. I'll 2-putt. We go on to the next one, and it's just like it's this revolving door of like frustration and not even really being able to tell like where something's gone wrong or right within golf. Where other sports, because of athleticism, I think you can tell that really quickly.
God, it's got to be one of the least satisfying sports to play professionally. There's really not many moments of satisfaction, because it's not a team sport. So like you could have a dog shit day with your your team. Your team can just win the game, hit a walk-off home run, you went over 3, you made a play in the field, whatever, and you're just celebrating, dumping champagne over each other. Golf is just fucking, it's a lot of depression and like losing, and just like even if you play well. I read off Xander Schauffele's like 4 rounds the other day. It was like 3 weeks ago. And it was like 67, 67, 68, 69. He lost by 6. It's just like
that's right.
He got dominated. He didn't even come close. Like it's just how much better is he supposed to play? So like there's no satisfaction. It's nuts.
We just had Bryson DeChambeau entered the fray on Twitter, and he responded to the Brooks "Sorry Bro" tweet and just wrote, "It's nice to be living rent-free in your head."
Whoa.
Okay.
That's using fire against fire there, because Bryson knows that that's something that Brooks would say.
Whoa, baby.
Brooks has been talking a lot about Bryson recently, with Bryson really not doing anything other than like posting lifting videos on his Insta story after that video got leaked. But now we're really getting somewhere.
Woo! This is turning into something right now. This is turning into something.
This is how golf always... Bro, this is great. This is awesome. I said Bryson needed to find his, image, and I wish he would walk to the tee box with just 2 dumbbells in his hands, drop them, and then hit a drive. That would be amazing if they played, he had a guy in his group that had a boom box, and, he would just play Eye of the Tiger as he teed off at Augusta. It'd be fucking amazing. But now Bryson's starting to get that bad guy feel. Look at this. I'm in your head, come on, Bryson, enter it. He's entered the ring. That's all you can really ask for. This is genuinely
unlike anything we've ever seen in golf. I think ever. When were 2 superstars in golf just aggressively chirping each other publicly? Has that ever fucking happened in the game?
Someone just tweeted us, it's getting better by the minute, and that's true. Literally by the minute, this rivalry is growing. God, please talk.
To do the podcast. It keeps happening.
Please talk to our friends at the USGA and do not have them matched up like just some fucking. Yeah. It's gonna be a parade, and everyone's gonna be. I don't want this thing to be squash. It has to be natural. It has to be real, raw. I want Brooks and Bryson to be eating raw meat, walking up to the tee box. Their fangs are just dripping for blood.
But think about it, the next putting green. The amount of camera coverage that they're going to get if they're on the putting green together, warming up, bumping shoulders or something like that will be so good.
Right. If this ever gets physical at some point, now we're talking about the greatest rivalry in sports history. If those two try to wrestle each other on a putting green, now we're talking.
Who wins that boxing match?
I mean, I think now Bryson, he's fucking huge, dude. You saw him.
Yeah, I think at one point Bryson. Athletes. Yeah, at one point Bryson admitted that he thinks Brooke would kick the shit out of him, but I think it'd be more even than he's letting on.
It's hard for me to say anything about anyone's body, especially a professional athlete. But if we're gonna compare 2 elite specimens, which they are, they're the top of their fucking sport. I just think Bryson is a lot more. I would think Bryson's a lot more agile and quick and can throw a heavier punch. Brooks, we've seen him I don't want to use the word doughy, but he is he's not as cut. He doesn't look like he is as fit as Bryson, even though it's hard to say because Brooks is fucking a supreme athlete. I don't know. It's a tough one. That'd be a heavyweight battle.
It would be. I don't know.
Doesn't Bryson just look like he'd be just more if you watched him in a ring, he'd just be more of a boxer than Brooks?
You think Bryson would be? I would say the other way. Bryson, he looks more rigid and solid to me. He looks like if he got Brooks in a corner, he's just Ivan Drago, just pounding away at him. But Brooks seems to be a little bit more, I don't know, nimble, I guess, if you will. Bryson's so big now that he doesn't seem as agile, honestly.
See that swing, though? He's the most agile person in the world. He's doing long drive competition type swings. Brooks, to me, looks slow compared to him. You put those 2 next to each other, and one guy's going 100 miles an hour, the other guy's going 50.
I mean, it's must watch if it would it'd be
rough and rowdy, man. That would be, imagine.
Oh my God.
Talk about fucking pay-per-view.
Well, now do you think Brooks comes back? Do you think Brooks and Brooksy really go off here?
I think we nailed it earlier. I think they have to just end up in competition together or in contention together down the stretch in a huge tournament for this to really come to its peak, to crescendo. Because right now, anything else is going to be a letdown. And you need it to build up more. We need the footage from the U.S. Open, from the putting green, from them being right next to each other on the range. That is going to be, you're going to be able to feel the tension through the television, through PGA Tour Live. You're going to be this is fucking awesome. But that needs to build up. That can't end it. That needs to add to the lore of this, and then eventually they square off with both those names of the leaderboard. Like, imagine what Twitter's going to look like when they're like tied for the lead in a tournament. Even if they're not in the same group, it'd be fucking unreal.
I mean, I can't stop looking at Twitter right now. I know we're doing a podcast right now. We're talking about it, but I am just refreshing. I'm trying to get some tweets off. Like, this is the good shit, man. This is the good shit.
Our pal Lurch just did something I don't know if I've ever seen on Twitter.com.
What do you do?
What do you mean?
So
The video?
Did you? I haven't watched it with any volume because we're doing a podcast. But did you just say "Oh my God" in a video?
Yeah.
And you took a selfie of you saying "Oh my God" and then you hashtag Twitter.
Yeah.
So you verbal tweeted a selfie video.
Yes.
That's groundbreaking.
I gotta tell you, I've never seen that before.
I swear to
Well,
God, that's groundbreaking. Like,
This is where I come in.
I love it.
he's just going, "Oh my God."
I mean, that's how that is how everybody's looking at those two tweets. I couldn't help myself.
You kind of remind me of the Vin Dog, who we hired like kind of as a joke to just like meme people to death, where he does live action memes. Like, you did like a live action GIF video reply on Twitter, I think.
I will say my phone's blowing up from people.
Well, I just had to retweet. I had to retweet that. I think it's the first time I've ever acknowledged Lurch on social media. I said this is a groundbreaking tweet. It's a groundbreaking tweet.
I mean, it's going to be a good afternoon with this. Like, whatever happens in Twitter, people are going to be chiming in. It's going to be a good afternoon.
It's exciting.
It
Good
is.
for golf.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hashtag good for golf.
You know, we got the LTP 1 week, and the next week we got two meathead golfers just going after each other. That's this game, man. Fun stuff. Absolute fun stuff.
It really is.
Yeah, I mean, I just tweeted Lurch's video. I said, I think this might be the most stunning golf tweet of the day, actually. This was Lurch's. I mean, I can't. It's unreal. I love it. This is what, like, when you were doing Instagram stories forever that were just, like, wrong, that's, like, this is what we need you for. This is perfect. That's
Right.
a perfect tweet.
That's your corner now. That's a real corner that you own. Right. Just reaction video tweets that are pretty short. That it's what's everyone tweeting, but you put it in like an audio and video form.
Yeah, that's what I did.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm doing social media my own way. A little bit different, for sure. But whatever.
Again, Trent's right. That's your corner, and you just dominate that corner. You've cornered the market on that. It's awesome. Much like Peter Millar and their Seaside collection, which is just their most laid-back, comfortable collection I think that they've ever conceived. I don't know how they continue to do it. It's like, oh my God, they did it again. But their Seaside, it's laid back. They're using special washes and techniques to make sure it's the softest clothes in your closet, whether it's their natural touch or aqua cotton polos, their lightweight shorts, a pair of their custom printed swim trunks. You'll want to be living in Peter Millar Seaside all summer long. Just imagine a clothing line that is literally designed to be walking around Seaside. Like, Lurch is a Seaside guy.
Not so much a Seaside guy, but I get down with the Seaside from time to time. It's a good spot.
You belong to a beach club.
Yeah, I know. I like it over there.
I mean,
wait a minute.
You're on the sea.
Wait a minute. Are you taking him literally, Lurch? We're Seaside, New Jersey? I think.
Well, no, but I guess part of my reaction was to Seaside, New Jersey, but I would say I like to be by the sea, but I'm not always there. But I do appreciate any ocean time that I do get.
Because I would agree, like Seaside, New Jersey is like where like I got like a drunk earring in when I went for after prom when I was in like 11th grade. Like,
did you get one stud in your ear?
No, I went double stud in 11th grade.
Right.
Yeah,
two's better than one.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I was just an idiot Long Island loser, but I still am.
No, things have changed a lot since then.
But nothing's really changed much. But if you talk just general Seaside, like you are probably the most Seaside person here, right?
Yeah, I think for sure. Actually, Riggs
Ocean
is a
breeze.
sneaky good swimmer, though.
Really?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, we were big swimmers growing up. We swam competitively for a while.
Wow. So does that also include like diving, or you're already in the water and then you can swim well? Because diving's a great skill to have.
By that question, have you ever swam before?
Yes, but like there's a difference. Like some people like have a good stroke and they're like good in the water, but they can't dive for shit. Like I can't do really either. I can swim, but like I can survive. I can't really swim.
No,
I would never be able to
it's
swim
swimming. I would say diving is kind of its own sport. I will say that you do have to dive into the water in most strokes and then swim. So that's a technique, but it's not like the official diving where you're doing fucking triple axels and shit and then trying not to splash when you land. It's a whole different deal.
Wow.
No, I love the seaside. I love a good storm. I love getting in the ocean. I love being on the beach.
Okay.
It's just a good place to be.
Love Peter Millar.
Yeah.
I meant to say you like to be beside the sea is kind of what I was
You just
saying.
need a breeze. You always need a breeze.
I mean, big guys need a breeze. Like if you're looking at D-Daddy, he's looking for the next breeze coming in through his window. Yeah, if it's sweaty and warm out, I mean, we're looking for a breeze. I think,
Yeah. Well, you're going to love the Seaside collection from Peter Millar. Check out their whole Seaside collection at petermillar.com/Fore. Receive free shipping and receive a complimentary gift with purchase. That's petermillar.com/Fore. All right, gentlemen, are we ready to throw it to Mr. Dustin Johnson, number one ranked player in the world?
Forgot we have him on the show.
Yeah, this will actually go down as one of our bigger shows. I mean, everything breaking on Twitter, this is kind of what people come to us for, and then we also have the number one ranked player in the world on this show.
Ho hum.
Wow. All right. Well, next up, Mr. Dustin Johnson. All right, folks, we're joined by a very, very, very special guest. He's currently number one ranked golfer on planet Earth. He's got 24 PGA Tour wins, 2 major championships. He's got a little body armor in front of him right there, which is nice. Last time we saw him, he was actually calling Trent his pigeon while he was walking around the golf course in Florida. So, DJ, what's up, man? Welcome to the show.
How's it going? Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Everything's going good.
So we got a lot. I got a lot of I was gonna say we got a lot of feedback about the pigeon comment. People asking what it meant. Why is he calling you a pigeon? And I haven't had an answer for those people. So if you could clarify why you were calling me a pigeon all day that day, that would be very helpful for me and everyone listening.
Oh, I was in your head, and it was a lot of fun, obviously, and then I definitely had a good time beating y'all left-handed. So I enjoyed that. I don't know if y'all did, but I know I did.
DJ's too kind. He was looking you dead in the eyes and knew he was going to beat you, Trent.
Yeah.
That's the pigeon comment.
Yeah, he beat all you guys too. Don't pin this on me. He beat all of us.
But you were his choice of like, no, that's a dead fish early.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah,
exactly.
So left-handed, I got to ask you because there's been a lot of chatter lately. Left-handed, matches maybe coming up. What do you think realistically you would shoot left-handed? Like, do you ever play left-handed?
No, honestly, I don't. But I mean, I think if I practice for a few days, I could shoot in the 80s, maybe high 80s, 90s. I don't know.
All right, yeah. I think as we trend towards the 90, it's a little more realistic. We have a big match. Our boss, Dave Portnoy versus Brooks Koepka coming up, lefty versus lefty. Dave is a natural lefty, so that should be a good one. But it is funny to try and piece together like what you did to us and try and apply that to like a Brooks. I do think that what you did was stunning compared to like what the average person can do on the other side of the ball. So I don't know that we'll ever see that again, to be honest. You said you hadn't swung in a year and you just ripped like 7-iron darts into like the forest. I've never seen anything like it.
Well, yeah, obviously don't practice too much left-handed. I swing a little bit every now and again, but very rarely. But it is fun though when I was out there with you guys, playing a few holes left-handed. Usually that I save that for the Bahamas when I'm on vacation. I might play a little left-handed.
I got a question about, at one point we were talking about drones. You were asking about the drone we use because you were thinking about getting one for fishing. Did you ever end up getting a drone?
I've got a couple. I just need to learn how to fly them. I fly them in my backyard a little bit, but there's a lot of trees around. I've taken out a few drones, so.
The first time I ever flew one, I decided to fly at my tiny Manhattan apartment as like the first trial run just because I really wanted to get it in the air, and it was a debacle. I almost took my hand off, so you got to be careful with those
They're
things.
dangerous. They are. My trees, they don't like them too much.
Number one golfer in the world, and you just mentioned about vacation and maybe golfing left-handed. I've always wondered, like, what is golf to you when you're not competing? Like, are you going out there and having fun with buddies? Do you like to golf when it's not?
I do. Yeah.
Competition?
I mean, at home, I'll go out and practice. A lot of times I'll go out and practice for, say, a couple hours, and then I'll go play like with my buddies or my brother or something, just having fun. But I'm still, for me, it's still kind of working, but obviously I get to enjoy it, with friends and company. So, that's one thing I love about this sport is even though I'm out there, working and doing my job, I still get to enjoy it and have fun and can enjoy it with other people.
Yeah, because I feel like we have talked to guys who say they don't like to play when it's not in competition. They say that it's more work than it is fun, but it sounds like you still get enjoyment out of playing even when you're not, in between the ropes.
Absolutely. I do. I like playing when I'm home. I spend a lot more time playing, I think, than I do, practicing or beating balls, unless I'm really working on something. But for the most part, yeah, I like to go out and play.
Yeah, we hear a lot when people talk about you and your game and your improvements that you're one of the hardest, working guys. You grind. What's that look like? Like when you have a grindy week, when you're really practicing, gearing up for a major, gearing up for a big tournament, what's like your schedule look like on a hard working week?
It all kind of depends, but usually I'll take the kids to school in the morning, then I'll go to the gym from there, and then straight to the course to practice. And I try to finish my day, so I can pick them up from school. So I'm usually done around 2-ish, 2:30. If I'm working on something or if I need to work on something, then I'll spend more time. But it just kind of all depends on how things are going.
It's funny that schedule has allowed you to become the best golfer in the world, right? I feel like it would kind of be reversed, where you had all the time in the world to do your craft and perfect it, and now you have some time allocated to family and other things that are in your life, which obviously morning, afternoon, you're saying that you're fitting in working out and practicing, and it's freaking worked out on the golf course. That's pretty impressive. Did you ever think that was going to take away from your game, having all those other responsibilities?
No, I think, for me, it's almost helped just because it puts things in perspective. And, now for me, Paulina and the kids are most important. And, so yeah, they're first and foremost. And then after that, I try to get into work when I can.
Yeah, I remember Chambers Bay. One of the things that stuck out for me was right after everything finished up, just you're there with your boy and with your family, and you're smiling and laughing. And right away, I remember just thinking, man, the perspective on that, and for this guy, I could see how it would kind of help, because it probably, you're not a guy who slams clubs, you're not a guy who gets pissed off out there. I'm sure you want to sometimes, but it feels like it gives you good perspective out there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously, I get frustrated. With the game, and, I get mad, but I try to, I still try to remember it is a game. I'm out there playing, I love this game. I'm having fun. I'm out there, I need to set an example. So I try not to, break clubs or throw them or do things like that. But yeah, Chambers, obviously that was it's a tough one to swallow, but, I felt like I really didn't do it. I did everything I was supposed to. It just didn't work out.
One of our favorite companies that we've ever worked with that we will never buy anything from again, that has taught us to never, ever be involved with big deodorant again. Gentlemen, you know what I'm talking about here?
Might have a guess.
It's Oars and Alps.
Oars and Alps, baby.
That's right. That's correct.
It's as good as it gets, man.
They put in the copy, imagine thinking you're tougher than the sun. I can't, because that was a tweet that I did one time.
I feel like they're aiming that at me a little bit, because when I was down in Kiawah, I ended up getting very, very burnt. And I'll tell you what the reason is, and it actually has to do with Oars and Alps and how much I love them. When I went to the airport, I accidentally left the spray Oars and Alps suntan lotion in my carry-on bag, and I checked it through security, and they took it out, and they were like, this is too big, you can't have it. So they took it from me, and I refused. In South Carolina, I refused to use any other brand than Oars and Alps suntan lotion. So what happened then is I got really burnt But I didn't want to put on any other suntan lotion brand because it's got all those chemicals and shit in it, and I just didn't want to put that in my body. So instead, I just got really burnt, and I really, really miss my Oars and Alps because my head got super burnt.
I like that you call it suntan lotion.
What's it called?
You call it sunscreen?
Just sunscreen, yeah. But it's nice.
They've been working for years, 4 years, on their SPF formula to bring you the best possible SPF line that anybody could possibly make. It's free of harsh chemicals, very easy to use, specifically designed for your active guys and gals. Out there, the SPF products are non-greasy, feel very light on your skin, so you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. Right now, our Fore listeners can receive a free pack of cooling and cleansing wipes, also to keep you fresh on the golf course. When you buy any 2 SPF Oars and Alps products, all you got to do is visit oarsandalps.com/Fore and follow the instructions. It's that simple. Go to oarsandalps.com/Fore, F-O-R-E. That's oarsandalps.com/Fore.
On the no throwing clubs thing, or like the release of energy, is there any like mental release that you do? Because whether it helps anything or not, when you throw a club or like slam it against your bag or something like that, it's that pathetic release of energy, just like get it off your system. Do you do anything like mentally, just like, just close your eyes for a couple seconds or just like take a deep breath or any kind of relief that you do?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I definitely do things like that. And then obviously away from the course, I like to go fishing, go on the boat, hang out with the kids, Paulina, whatever it is. But, I think it's really important to have that time away from the game just to, kind of reset, reset your mind, reset your body, everything. Because you got to, at this point, it's all about, focus. I know Phil was talking about it. Obviously, congrats to Phil. That was an amazing win yesterday. But, that's the most important thing for me. If I can stay focused, stay in the present, and just go about my business, that's when I play my best. But sometimes it's hard to do that.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, maybe there's like once a week Dustin Johnson just like punches the walls in his fucking room for like 20 minutes straight, and he's like, all right,
do you have a heavy bag in your basement? You do some boxing.
Yeah.
There's these rooms in like New York City where I think they're like anger rooms where they'll just put old TVs and laptops and phones in there, and they'll give you a bat. Legitimately, you pay like $60 to just let your anger out. And like some like corporate offices will like, oh, we're all going to the anger room, and these people just fucking banging laptops and TVs.
Sounds fun.
It does. What's the closest you've ever come to like? What's the closest you've ever come to really losing it? Have you ever like snapped on a course where you had to like take a step back and be like, oh shit?
No, I don't think so. I mean, not that I can recall.
Right.
I mean, I hit bad shots all the time. It's not like it's something new. Just so I try not to let it bother me.
You mentioned Phil yesterday. Do you watch much golf on a weekend like that when you got the weekend off? Were you watching a big event like that, or are you just
I was watching
your own thing?
No, I was actually on my boat, but we're watching on the phone.
That's awesome. Were you? You're rooting for. Obviously you know both guys. Like, is anybody you're rooting for? You're just rooting for good golf.
Yeah, obviously rooting for good golf, but I was kind of had to pull for Phil a little bit there just because it was obviously made history and what an incredible story. But he played unbelievable.
I'm curious. You're just kind of thoughts on really good golf and moments like that kind of coming out of nowhere. Like even you I remember last year there was a stretch you weren't playing your best and all of a sudden you were 30 under par in Boston and you go on and dominate and then you win the Masters. Phil hadn't finished top 20 yet this year. Out of the clouds, he comes out and wins the PGA at Kiawah where you have to hit it pretty much on a string. What is it about golf that allows that kind of variation?
That's one reason why, I think all these people, why we love this game is, it just, you never know. And it's, all golfers go through it. I haven't played my best the last, say couple months, but, like you said, last year I had probably 2 of the worst tournaments I've ever played in a row. And then, something clicks and I go out and I, pretty much have a chance to win my, my next 7 or 8 tournaments I play in. it's just how it goes. So obviously I need to get back to that form. We're working on it now. Just, got to get back to, grinding a little bit, and, I feel like it's close, but that's golf. It's always, for me, it takes, one swing and I've got it back.
Yeah, it is like that for every level. I feel like it's like everybody's changes a little bit, but for us, it's like you go out one day and be like, oh, I shot 80 and I was hitting it pretty damn well. It's great, and the next day it's same person, same golfer, same swing. It's like 97. You're just like, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's infuriating.
Yeah,
it's absolutely infuriating.
DJ, we were at Trent and I were out at Kiawah, and we were on the range. And can you talk to us about like what? That range hitting into the wind, like, was that something that was getting into the players' heads? Like, just how difficult of a setup that was about to be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? Like, I've never really seen a range set up like that where you guys were just hitting into just gusts.
Well, I mean, it all depends on the, which way the range, if we were hitting from the other side, it'd be straight downwind. But I mean, it's always tough warming up when it's blowing that hard right into the wind, because, you start kind of, every shot you kind of want to flight down. So you got to do some things in your preparation to where, you're making sure you're not like trying to flight every shot just because but when you hit a normal shot, it doesn't go anywhere. So you just gotta do it though, just to make sure. But it is tough. I mean, the golf course is tough, especially with how hard the wind was blowing. You needed to be spot on. And, if you weren't, you got very penalized.
When you were with us, and you were at one moment, I believe you were like 310 yards out, and Lurch kind of asked you like, what would you do in real life, if you weren't playing left-handed one club? And you're like, yeah, I'd just roast one and go for it. You pulled out a 3-wood. You probably did the most impressive like physical, athletic thing I've ever seen. Just roasted a 3-wood from like 300 yards that came up just a hair short. If you're in competition, or really anywhere, like, realistically, if you have to carry a 3-wood off the deck, like, what's the furthest you could carry a 3-wood off the deck?
I mean, it all depends on conditions, but flat ground, no wind. I mean, 290, maybe 285, 290.
And then could you, okay. That's
Riggs is just getting giddy to the possibilities. He doesn't even understand. He's like, that's a different game, I guess. So that'd be fun to do.
Just something like, that's just different. That's just totally different. Another thing about you, we had a long interview, long day we spent with Butch Harmon, who's just the man, and he was going through a lot of, your kind of progression and talking about the difference between, you hitting a draw for a long time and then deciding to hit a cut. Like, from your perspective, can you just talk through a little bit that process of like committing to, playing a cut and then ultimately winning a couple majors and becoming number one in the world with it?
Yeah, I mean, so when I first started working with Butch, we started working on, hitting a cut, and we worked on it for quite a while, a few years, and, still whatever, it took me a long time before I got comfortable hitting the cut, like from the fairway, like to a flag. If I had to go around a tree or something like that, it was no problem, but it was just like, from the middle of the fairway, playing a cut shot into a green, just because I'd always played a draw. But I was actually at Sherwood, I think it was in 15, like December of 15, had all my new, woods and stuff from TaylorMade. So it'd have been the R15, I think, because it's, 2015. But was playing and practicing and testing them, and I was struggling. Like, I was playing a draw, but I was driving all over the place. And so, I don't know, just one morning I was going to play, I was like, you know what? I'm going to cut every shot today. Hit a cut on every shot. I think I shot like 62 or something like that. And I'm like, all right. Went out the next day. I'm like, all right, I'm going to cut every shot today too. I think I shot another like 61 or 62. Like, okay, this is working. So did it third day, and same results. Played very well. And so I started playing a cut.
It's worked out pretty well.
Right. When you say those numbers, it just doesn't seem like a realistic amount of shots needed to play 18 holes. Like it's like, what'd you play? Like 9 or 12 holes and quit? Like that just feels impossible.
I quit after 15, but
Shout the old 62.
Yeah.
So I remember leading up to the Masters, I think it was this year, where somebody put out a video asking you, when's how many times last year did you intentionally draw the ball? And you were like, 0. So are you just you never draw the ball basically off the tee?
No, I do. Off the tee. Well, with the driver, I don't. I mean, with the driver, I don't. With all my other clubs, I'll hit draws. But yeah, just with the driver, I don't ever try to turn it over.
So at Augusta, 10, 13, you're just going 3-wood basically?
3-wood, yeah, with a draw or hook. 10's a hook. 13's, yeah, just a straight ball, or I try to turn it over a little bit.
So 10, when you say it's a hook, what are you setting up and what are you thinking about? You're like, I'm just going to sling this thing.
I mean, I aim right and just try to snap hook my 3-wood.
That's awesome. That's so
Same.
good.
I love that strategy. At Augusta, thinking, I'll just snap hook this. The fact that it's a controlled snap hook, for us, it's off the planet. You say that. It's for you, it makes sense, and you rip it down the middle.
That's why I aim way right and just hook it as hard as I can.
Just jumping back to the Let Them Play last week, I've been continuing to get a few notes and exchanges back and forth with some of the players, coaches. The Women's NCAA Championships are going on right now, so people are still kind of focused on everything that went down. I can't really get over the golfers coming up 18 afterwards, the scoring table, and being able to kind of, video in their family. So I just wanted to give a big thanks once again to Cisco. Cisco and Webex made all that happen. Their tech mobilized extremely quickly to help us get those family moments possible. We have people from Europe, from all the way across the country here, Australia, all done by Cisco and Webex. Not the first time they've done that. If you remember Bryson last year at Wingfoot, I've been talking a good amount about Bryson on this show. After he won, there was a giant Cisco cart with his family on it. And as well with Alim Kim at the Women's U.S. Open with her family after she won. So it's all happened over WebEx. It's got very impactful moments, and they're just awesome. So a big thanks to Cisco and to WebEx for making all of that happen. And they're going to be all over the U.S. Open this year as well. So Cisco makes miracles happen, really. That's kind of
they dominate the feel-good game, right? They're just always in the right spot. They're the ones that kind of make you tear up. And the fact that they're so reliable and the tech is so easy to use, and just the way, you just know when it's a Cisco WebEx because you see the way that they have the families all separated on the screen. You can just tell that compared to any competitors, and you always know that it's Cisco's a name that it just whenever it's attached to something, it's a really good event and it means something. Cisco is a household name at this point. Whenever you hear that, you know something good's happening.
Yeah, and they get it done when it comes to the tech. We laugh all the time at Barstool, the Barstool difference, because tech just doesn't work. We used Cisco for the first time, and they just got it done. These families were just connected to their loved ones coming off the 18th green at the Let Them Play Classic, and they nailed it at the U.S. Opens, women's and men's. So they're great. Big thanks to Cisco and WebEx. Use their technology because they just do not miss. What's the most nervous you ever been on a golf course? You don't strike me as a guy that gets particularly nervous. What's the most nervous you ever been out there?
Yeah, no, I get nervous every time I go to the tee. But it's good nerves. I mean, it's because it means something to me. I want to do well. I want to perform. So, but the most nervous 2 times stick out to me, which would be my first Ryder Cup in Wales. I was playing with Phil. I think we were in the first match out, actually. And I was teeing up first. And, I was – it was a 3-wood hole. I hit the driver because there was no way I was going to make contact with a 3-wood. I needed the biggest head I had in my bag. So, and then the other one would have been Walker Cup. For some reason, the first tee I was really nervous. This was in 07, the Walker Cup at Royal County Down. It was me and Colt Nose were playing against Rory McIlroy, and I don't know why I'm blanking on the other one, but
sucks to be that guy.
Oh, he's not Rory
No.
or,
Yeah,
or,
exactly.
you know,
Yeah, exactly.
DJ or Colt.
it was a long time.
I can't-
No, he's a player.
I can't wait to
plays on
find out who that
European
person
tour.
is. I can't wait.
He plays on European tour, I think. So I'm drawing a blank with the name. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, 07, definitely. You guys had like an unreal team that year, the Walker Cup team.
We did. We were pretty solid.
Yeah, like the roster's all a bunch of who's now of a PGA Tour.
I like that, like, when you're most nervous, it's a team event, right? Is that the athlete in you, that, like, the locker room mentality?
And two, it's one of those things where, you know, it's not just me. Obviously, you have your teammates, your captains. You know, you're representing your country, so you know you're out there. It's more than just yourself. So, for me, you know, because I want to do well, I want to represent my country, I want to win for my teammates and everything. So and I think it just means so much to you. That's why, for me, I get really nervous. Not really in a bad way. First tee, a little shaky, but after that, I hone it in.
Right, like nervous to you is different than nervous to us. Like when I'm nervous, like when we played against Kevin Kisner, I couldn't get the ball on the tee. I thought we were going to sit there all day being like, this guy, we're just not going to be able to play. We're going to lose all our daylight because I can't get my ball on the tee. But you, like, you're obviously a little shaky, but you're still going to roast one. It's different. It's very different, obviously.
Yeah, I just don't know. Might not know where it's going.
Fair.
But yeah, it's going to get hit hard though, for sure, especially when you're nervous.
Yeah,
Dude,
just swing hard, baby.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this fucking world most weeks at number 1, and it's Tiger Woods, Greg Norman, Dustin Johnson with 129 weeks at world number 1 in the game of golf. Have you ever taken a step back and been like, what is going? Like, how did this happen? Like, the number 1 world in the world at golf for 129 weeks. I can't even. I mean, the names you're up there with are preposterous. Like, what does that mean to you, being the number 1? Is it anything special, or do you take any sort of weight with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's what I've always strived to do, and you know, it's kind of where every golfer wants to be. And you know, for me, it means a lot. You know, obviously, it's a great honor to be ranked number 1, and you know, it drives me to keep trying to get better. You know, there's always room for improvement. I don't care how good you're playing. You know, there's always areas in your game that you could get better. And so for me, it drives me to continue working on the game.
Yeah, it's incredible. We were talking on yesterday's show about Phil winning at 50 years old, and I was kind of mentioning, like, does that draw some inspiration for a guy like you? Like, hey, when I'm 50 years old, I can still be out here. Like, does that kind of open a door for you that maybe you thought like wouldn't have been an opportunity, a week ago?
Yeah, I mean that's what golf. Obviously Phil, he stayed in good shape. He still can hit it long enough to compete, and obviously, yeah, I mean he's still an incredible player. He always has been. But yeah, golf is one of those games where you can play and have a very long career, if you stay healthy and, do the right things, stay hydrated, obviously.
Body armor.
Absolutely. That's a big part of, having longevity is taking care of yourself.
Body armor. I love body armor. We have body armor in our Barstool office like you wouldn't believe. I must drink like seven to 8 bottles a day. And it's just something about the way that they make the water bottle. It just goes down easier and actually tastes better. Even though it's just water, like I won't drink another water. It's alkaline, infused. Everything about it's just better.
Yeah. No, I agree. Obviously, I've got a garage full of it. So it looks like I've got a grocery store in my garage full of body armor. So. They take care of me very well.
Yeah, in Florida too. I mean, you must sweat your dick off down there in Florida. You gotta stay hydrated.
It is hot, so yeah, I take quite a few with me to the course. When I'm going out to practice, fill the cart up with them.
Hell yeah. You superstitious at all? You got any superstition? We see like DJ out there rocking like only marks his ball with a heads up coin or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm a little bit. I use a quarter. It always heads up. But it's got a year in the 60s. So I have all like 1960s quarters.
Wait.
All right, Dustin, you're extremely superstitious.
Hold on. Why year in the 60s?
That's awesome.
Well, don't you want to shoot in the 60s? Oh, no. Just
yes,
the
I do.
Basic and simple. Yeah, I like that a lot.
That's fantastic.
So if you pull out a coin that's like 65, your goal that day is a 65 kind of thing?
Well, no, not necessarily a goal. It's just good numbers. I like those numbers. You know, you like to shoot those numbers. Not necessarily. I don't ever have a goal of, all right, I want to go shoot, 65 or 66 or, I try to shoot as low as I can every day. Whatever number that is, that's what it is. But I think ever since college, I've always used 1960s quarters. So.
God help anyone on your team that flips you like a 1982 quarter. You're on the first green at Augusta National. You put it down. You're like, these fucking guys are done.
Your brother's just off the bag and he fires you a 99 quarter.
Right. That's the next question.
How many 99 quarter?
How many quarters in the 1960s do you have? How many 1960s quarters do you have?
I've got enough to last me for a long time.
Right next to the body armor kind of thing.
Yeah. Exactly.
In theory,
I don't know, at least 100.
Wow. Yeah, like somebody on your team had to just tell them at some point, like, I need all the 60s quarters you could find, right?
Yeah, of course.
Amazing.
If I ever come across a 1960s quarter, I'm going to send it to DJ for sure.
All right, please do.
Done.
Amazing. I'm glad we got that little nugget. All right, TJ. Well, we really appreciate it, man. We we know you're busy. We know you're living the life down there in Florida. So we'll be rooting for you in your 1960s quarters that you got.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the show.
Well, next time we see you and we do that lefty challenge, we're not going to take it so easy on you.
Okay.
We're going to be coming for you. We can't get embarrassed twice in a row.
Bring it.
Bullshit.
Bring it, he says.
Bring it, pigeons, basically.
Thanks, DJ.
Y'all should practice a little bit.
Yeah,
he's telling us to practice.
Yeah, we know we should practice.
Need it. We really need it.
We just didn't think you were going to take it so seriously, man. Like, we're like, oh, we'll play this cute little game with DJ at media day, and we'll play him lefty. You, like, wanted blood. I'd never really seen anything like it. Like, you wanted to make us cry.
I don't like to lose.
It's true. You don't do it very often, so. That's awesome, man. Thanks, man. I appreciate
thank
you
you.
coming on.
Thanks, DJ.
Thanks, Dustin. Appreciate it.
See ya.
Thank you.